It's been over 5 years since I graduated from college, and since then I've had a chance to reflect on my college career. I accomplished a lot of great things, but I can't help but wonder, would I do things a little bit differently if I was a student again? So in this video, I'll be sharing with you 4 things I would do if I was a college student again. Say yes to everything. Looking back at my college career, one of the things I wish I did more of was say yes to a lot more social outings. Especially during my freshman and sophomore year, I found ways to say no to a lot of things and would try to stay in my dorm room and study all the time. It wasn't until my junior and senior year where I started to be a little bit more social, and that's when I started to feel the real effects of being a college student. I thought being a successful college student meant excelling in the classroom or grabbing tons of internships, but oftentimes the real joy of college comes when you say yes to those social outings. So this doesn't mean that you need to be going clubbing every weekend, but it does mean that you need to push yourself outside your comfort zone and say yes to stuff that you normally wouldn't. Having that mentality allowed me to build some of the closest relationships and friends I had while I was in school, and that couldn't have happened if I defaulted to saying no to everything. And if I'm being honest, the times that I remember the most in college are the times when I was hanging out with my friends doing FIFA nights, playing soccer, going to football games, or just enjoying ourselves on a night out. The times I rarely remember or ever look back on are the times when I'm stuck in my dorm room studying all the time for a random test. Now, I keep mentioning this context when it comes to social outings, but this obviously applies to your career. Say yes to everything and every opportunity that comes your way, especially when you're in college, because this is the time to really build your reps and start building the career that you want. There were so many times in college when I was chasing my sports media career where I said yes to things even when I didn't feel fully confident that I was ready for it or fully prepared for it. And that allowed me to start working for places I could have only dreamed of as a kid. Capture more memories and document your life. Now, this seems like a little bit of an odd take to have, but for me, it's really just a reminder to document your life and take those photos and videos when you are with your friends. While I'm a big advocate of always being in the moment and enjoying the moment you have with the people around you, taking a moment to take that photo really makes a big difference as you get older and you want to look back at your time and your life in college. And it's low-key sad because I didn't take a lot of photos and videos during my freshman and sophomore year of college. I think it's so important to take moments like that during your time in college because you go through so much of a transformation physically, mentally, and emotionally during your 4 years in school. And I think being able to have those physical memories and you can look back on them make a world of difference when you're just reflecting on your life as you get older. Stop being afraid of rejection. Oh boy, this is a big one because you know how I mentioned earlier that I felt like I accomplished a lot with my career in college? Well, I felt like I could have done a lot more if I was just a little bit more confident in myself and didn't let the fear of rejection stop me from pursuing even more bolder things. Now, maybe all this confidence comes with more time and as you age, because I would say like even now in my current age, I still feel a little bit of that. But definitely in college, if I just put myself out there a little bit more, so many more opportunities could have came my way. And it's so funny because I was afraid of looking like an idiot or a fool when it came to my peers, whether it was asking an embarrassing question or putting myself out there in a little bit of a socially awkward way. But a lot of times people don't even remember those embarrassing moments because they're so caught up in their own life. So don't let the fear of what others might think of you stop you from being a little bit more bolder and going after the things that you truly want. Now, this fear of rejection showed up a ton during my podcasting era in college. When I had my soccer podcast, I was so afraid to reach out to high-profile guests to bring them onto my show. I felt like I had to build enough credibility before I had the right to reach out to them. Now, while that is true, you should have a little bit of groundwork before you start reaching out to people. I use that as a crutch, and that stopped me from even attempting to reach out. And the funny thing is during this time, my friend also had a sports podcast of his own, but the thing with him was that he was not afraid to ask people and he was bold. He just asked people, high profile people all the time to come onto his show, and he started to gain those guests to come onto his show even though he didn't have the amount of episodes that I did. Now, I share this because this is just a great example that you should not be afraid to ask people and just go after the things you want because you have all to gain in those situations and really nothing to lose. Now, I mentioned this fear of rejection a lot of times when it comes to career, but of course this applies to your social interactions as well. There were so many times during my early college days where I was afraid of approaching people because I was afraid of looking stupid and being rejected. And yes, this means approaching that cute girl that you see in the dining hall or the library, but it's funny looking back at my time because the few times I did put myself out there in uncomfortable situations and wasn't afraid of being rejected, I actually met one of my closest friends who introduced me to like the group of friends that I have now to this day. And that couldn't have happened if I just stayed within my shell and was afraid to talking to people. Now, I distinctly remember the moment I met some of my closest college friends is because they were in the dining hall wearing their soccer jerseys. And it took a lot of courage to just go up there and ask them about soccer, but putting myself out there allowed me to make some of the closest friends I have ever had in college and also to this day. And it's funny, the one time I had the courage to talk to a girl I was interested in, it actually led to me being in a relationship while I was in college. Stop focusing on GPA, focus more on opportunities. I feel like when you're in school, everyone makes a big deal about what your GPA is. It's a defining metric to see how well you're doing in school. But once you leave, no one really cares about what your GPA is, as long as you get the degree. While it's important to maintain a decent GPA to maintain your scholarships, if you spend too much time in the classroom, you start to miss out on the opportunities or experiences that could propel your life forward. As I got older, there were plenty of times where internship interviews, club opportunities, or coffee chats came up during class time, and I made the conscious decision to skip class a lot of times to go to those opportunities. Now, did all of those opportunities lead to internships or lead to something tangible? No, but I'm glad I did it because it got me one step closer to becoming the person I wanted to be once I left school. I saw too many times where a lot of my peers were afraid to skip class for an internship opportunity or an opportunity that would further their career. But it's really in those moments when you start to take the next big step in your life. The thing is, the classroom can never really replicate real life experience, so you need to go out there and go after those things. Like, for example, every semester UGA would have a career fair, and I remember my freshman year I didn't go to it because A, I didn't have my resume sorted, and B, I was afraid to skip class. Now, that's just a really dumb excuse to not go to a career fair because A, you can always make up class time, but you can never make up that opportunity or that chance to connect with a recruiter that could land you your next big job or your next big internship. College was one of the most impactful periods of my life. In a lot of ways, it shaped me to the person I am today. I hope you found this video helpful in terms of the tips and helping you fully maximize your time in school. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy the video I did recently where I break down some of the toxic principles of hustle culture and how I broke through from it. Catch you guys next time. Peace.